Someone says something small, a throwaway comment, a tone of voice, a look that lasted half a second too long, and you felt it. Not just noticed it, felt it. In your chest, in your stomach, in the part of you that spends the next 3 hours replaying what it meant. While everyone else moved on in seconds, you're still there, still processing, still carrying something that, to everyone around you, simply doesn't exist anymore. You've probably been told you're too sensitive, that you take things too personally, that you need to toughen up, grow thicker skin, stop letting everything affect you so much. But here's what nobody ever told you. You don't feel too much. You feel differently. And the difference between those two things is everything. Here's what's actually strange, when you step back and look at it. Most people move through the world with a kind of emotional filter. Things happen, they register, and then they fade. The brain processes them just enough to respond, and then it lets them go. But for some people, maybe 1 in 5, that filter works differently. It doesn't filter out. It amplifies. Every experience arrives a little louder. Every emotion lands a little deeper. Every interaction carries more information than the other person ever intended to send. And for most of your life, you've probably experienced this as a problem. Something to manage. Something to apologize for. What if it isn't? What if what you've been calling your weakness is actually a fundamentally different way of being in the world? One that comes with costs, yes, but also with something most people will never have access to. In 1996, psychologist Elaine Aron published research that would change how scientists understand human sensitivity forever. She identified a trait she called sensory processing sensitivity, what most people now know as being a highly sensitive person, or HSP. And what she found was remarkable. Around 15 to 20% of the population has a nervous system that is fundamentally wired to process information more deeply. Not more emotionally, more deeply, more thoroughly. With more layers of consideration, more awareness of subtlety, more attention to things others simply don't register. It's not anxiety. It's not introversion, though the two often overlap. It's not a disorder or a diagnosis. It's a trait, built into the nervous system, present from birth, found in over 100 animal species, because deep sensitivity, it turns out, has been evolutionarily useful for a very long time. Here's what's happening inside a highly sensitive brain. When information comes in, a sound, a look, a shift in someone's tone, it goes through more processing stages than it does in a non-sensitive brain. More regions activate, more connections fire. The brain spends more time asking, what does this mean? What do I need to know about this? What might happen next? This is why you notice things other people miss. Why you pick up on tension in a room before anyone has said a word. Why you can tell something is wrong with someone who is insisting they're fine. Your brain is doing more work. And like any system doing more work, it gets tired faster. It needs more recovery time. And when it's overwhelmed, the experience isn't just discomfort. It's a full sensory and emotional overload that can take hours or even days to process. But there's a layer underneath this that almost nobody talks about. Highly sensitive people don't just process the world more deeply. They process other people more deeply. Neuroscientists have found that HSPs show significantly higher activation in the mirror neuron system, the part of the brain responsible for empathy, for feeling what others feel, for registering emotional states as if they were your own. When someone near you is in pain, you don't just notice it. You feel a version of it. When someone is joyful, it lifts you. When there's conflict in a room, even conflict that has nothing to do with you, your nervous system responds as if it does. This is called emotional contagion. And for highly sensitive people, it's not occasional, it's constant. This is why crowded places are exhausting even when nothing bad happens. Why you need time alone after being around people. Not because you don't like them, but because you've been carrying pieces of everyone around you all day. Why you sometimes feel things you can't explain, emotions that don't seem to belong to you. They might not. Some of what you're feeling might be the emotional residue of every person you've been near. Here's what I want you to sit with. Because everything above, the deep processing, the mirror neurons, the emotional contagion, can all be true. And there can still be something worth examining underneath it. Sensitivity is real. It is biological. It is not your fault, and it is not a flaw. But sometimes, the way we relate to our sensitivity becomes its own problem. Some highly sensitive people, and this is worth being honest about, learn early that feeling deeply is dangerous, that their emotions are too much for other people, that the safest thing to do is feel everything on the inside and show nothing on the outside. And so they build a life around managing their sensitivity rather than living from it, constantly monitoring how much they're feeling, constantly editing themselves down to a size that feels acceptable to others. Psychologists call this emotional suppression. And the research is clear. Suppressing emotions doesn't reduce them. It amplifies them. The feelings don't go away. They go underground. And they come back louder, usually at night, usually when you're alone, usually in the form of thoughts that won't stop. The goal isn't to feel less. The goal is to build a life where your sensitivity doesn't have to hide. So the next time you feel something that nobody else in the room seems to feel, don't shrink it. Don't apologize for it. Don't spend 3 days wondering if you're too much. You are not too much. You are a person whose nervous system was built to go deeper than most, to notice more, to feel more, to carry more of the world inside you than the average person ever will. That is not easy. Some days it is genuinely exhausting. But it is also the reason you love the way you love, the reason you create the way you create, the reason the people who know you well feel truly seen by you, because you actually see them, in a way most people never will. Feeling everything deeply is not your weakness dressed up as something poetic. It is just who you are, and who you are doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be understood. If this is you, share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And if you want to keep understanding your mind, stay here. There's so much more to explore.